So I'm super excited to talk with Amy. She went through Techstars. She has a company called Meet Mindful. We're gonna just have like a little fireside chat discussion just about your experience raising money. You've raised what, 2.7 million?
3.7.
Sorry, I apologize.
We just closed a round last week.
Nice. So let's chat a little bit about your fundraising experience and maybe a little bit about your background first, because I think it's super relevant.
Okay. Cool. So background. I was a marketing major as well. And I was always interning in startups from my freshman year of college on. I was in Miami. And they weren't startups back then. They were just new companies, and small new companies doing, alternative things. And it spoke to me. I ended up on the ground floor. I was the first employee at a mobile marketing startup in 2006. We were basically like MailChimp, but for SMS. This is before iPhones were big, and it was like texting to short codes. So text, see you to 313131, and then people would market to you, or tell you when there was an emergency in your school and whatnot. And so I grew that alongside the CEO when I was like 22 or 23. I started. Didn't know what I was doing. But he was really patient with me, and ended up, being second in command at that company for 5 years. And it was great. We were like buying out our competitors, and we were totally owning the DIY space for the texting market. And sometime I was in New York at the time, and along the way, I got really deep into yoga and meditation. And it was a complete game changer for my life, and cleaned up a lot of shitty habits and relationships, and really focused on like living a life that I was really proud of and passionate about, and taking charge of what happened in my life, and not just being. I just learned the sheeple stage or term today,
Right?
And getting out of that like just life is happening to me thing, and actually like becoming an active participant. And I was so inspired by everything that I was getting into, and ended up going to a holistic nutrition school on the weekends while still working at Easy Texting.
Living in New York.
Living in New York.
So you were like the calm in the eye of the hurricane.
I remember, I started to feel that way a little bit. I remember coming out of a Bikram class in the middle of Times Square and just being like, whoa, I love this feeling, and it's like changing my life. And I actually walked home and broke up with my boyfriend of 5 years. I was like, this isn't working for me anymore. And that was kind of like the shit, I'm just jumping off the cliff. I'm just gonna change everything. And so I did this holistic nutrition program. There's 1,200 of us in a room in Lincoln Center every week for 6 months. And it's the training is to become a holistic health coach. And I wasn't interested in being a health coach. I wanted to just learn as much as I could about this kind of holistic, wellness-inspired lifestyle, and what people are teaching, all the different modalities and stuff, and just get into it. And maybe something would come of it. And it was the first time I was surrounded by so many like-minded people in my entire life. I didn't even know what was possible when you surround yourself with people that were up to the same thing, care about the same things, had the same value sets. And there were 1,200 of us. And every weekend I was just walking away like high on life, so inspired by what I could do, and I didn't know what it was gonna be yet. I read 4 Hour Work Week at this time, which puts a lot of people's lives through a completely different trajectory. And I remember at the end of that program, I had this weird, like, just complete vision of starting this social thing that it was going to be like let's post healthy recipes and like talk about really amazing, workouts and stuff like that. I don't know, it was very amateur, but I fell in love with this idea for a while. And I think many of us in this room can relate to falling in love with a business idea. And they all have their, in my experience, they've all had their paths that I'm totally into it. And like many new relationships, I guess, you're like, this is the best. And then you kind of see it through, and most of them go away or end. And so most of my business ideas have done that. But I remember that one just sticking and being like, wouldn't this be so cool? People could connect over all these things that they were really into. And then I forgot about it, quit my job, bought a one-way ticket to India, and did a yoga teacher training. And traveled the world for a year because I was very clear that I loved what I was doing at Easy Texting. I was kind of done with not feeling like I was giving something of purpose and of value to the world. So I wanted to go explore, and Tim Ferriss said to do something like that. So I was like, okay. And I had saved up all this money and to buy a house when I lived in New York, which is silly. So I just spent it and traveled. And I ended up going from community to community and across India, Southeast Asia, Bali, spent a lot of time in Thailand. And everywhere I would go, my style is to stay in one place for a while and like get in with the community. And so same thing, I kept being surrounded by these awesome communities of like-minded travelers and expats who were doing cool shit. Doing cool things. And everyone had their own version of it. Like one person was a, NLP practitioner, and the other person was a Reiki master, and the other person was a, neuroscience meditation person. And there was just all this different stuff going on. It didn't really matter what they were doing. Like, it wasn't the content, it was the context that I noticed was all kind of the same. And so then I moved to Denver 6 years ago. And I was doing Thai massage at the time because I thought that was be cool. And I trained in Thailand. And I was teaching yoga. And I wanted to just teach yoga and do Thai massage and have that be like what I did. No more business, And then I started business a month into living here.
Look what you've gotten yourself into.
I know. I was like, well, wouldn't it be fun if I could start this little events thing on the side? So I started randomly. I had this idea to do yoga events for singles, and I called it yoga dates. And we did yoga speed dating and vinyasa and vino and all this really cool things. And they kind of do a lot of this stuff now, but no one was doing this. And I had the idea, bought the domain that night, traded a Thai massage for a WordPress website. And actually, it's not even true. I had started a meetup group before I even did the website. Talk about MVP. I just did a meetup group. I woke up the next day. There were hundreds of people that had joined, and half were men, half were women. And I was like, what? This is interesting, so let's do an event. So I did an event. It was sold out right away, had a ton of awesome feedback. And I didn't know anything about what I was doing at this point. This is apparently like what you're supposed to do things that don't scale. Don't spend a lot of money right away, figure out what people want. And I was just kind of doing it like fire, aim, ready is what someone told me one time. So that's what I was doing. Then I did the website and whatever. I built this yoga events business, and I was doing the massage and the yoga teaching and the workshops and the events. And the events required a lot of my time, and I learned three things. One was that people were coming and telling me that their experiences on the dating sites and apps, and Tinder wasn't even really launched then, let alone anything else, was terrible. And it was really hard to find someone who was like-minded and shared their values in like spirituality, consciousness, mindfulness, health, and wellness. And it's really hard to keyword search that. And it's really hard to just parse that out in your pretty generic dating experience. And I had experienced that personally as well. So they're like, thank you. Can you do this all the time? Can you do this once a week? I was like, nope, not going to do events once a week. But that's so interesting. Thank you. People were calling and saying, hey, I don't do yoga, but I'm a Buddhist. Can I come? And I was like, oh, yes, you can. Or I have a really strong Tai Chi practice. I'm not really into yoga, but I think these would be a really good group of people for me. Can I come? Like, yes, totally. And at some point, the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, it has nothing to do with the yoga. It has everything to do with the values, the mindset, the lifestyle. The same thing, like how Steve Jobs says in his speech at Stanford that time about connecting the dots backwards. It was that same thing that I've been seeing in all the communities that I've been surrounding myself with. And so that was the second one. The third one was people were asking if they could connect online and if there was a way that they could self-organize. And I started looking at the social networking and the dating space, and there was really nothing for this crowd, for this demographic. And then I learned about talk about TAM and addressable market size. Like, this is a really large group of people, and it's just growing bigger and bigger, faster and faster. And so there's this wave of like, whether you call it mindful living or health and wellness or consciousness, I mean, there should be like a more generic term by now, but there's not. Maybe we can make that happen. But this is definitely a wave happening, and it's getting bigger. And so I took all three of those things and was like, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to call it Meet Mindful, and I'm going to try to connect like-minded people. And so that's how it all started. That was about 4 years ago, and we launched a WordPress site. I had no money. We launched a WordPress site to prove it out. Danny Newman from Roximity was like, why are you signing to do a custom development deal? Why don't you just get a WordPress, BuddyPress theme on WordPress and do it that way? And I was like, thanks. So that's how that happened. People were signing up. People were using it. It was terrible. I mean, it's so embarrassing to think about this prototype that we had, but it worked. And then we turned on the pay gate and people were paying. And we were like, whoa, this thing sucks and people are paying. That's amazing. And so we started looking at the data, and it was enough to be able to say, when I say this thing sucks, I mean this is the software and the experience was really bad. But the data was showing, enough data was there to say, people are upgrading at really high rates, and industry standard is this, and I think we should do this. Let's go raise some money, at least to build something custom, and go from there. So raised a little bit of capital and worked with Quick Left just to start making something, and then we had enough to hire a developer who would want to work on the thing that we had started building. So that's how it all started. We launched the kind of second MVP custom application in summer of 2015, found our first traction channel and started growing and having some really interesting traction that fall. Applied for Techstars that fall, got into Techstars and started in the spring of 2016. And that's kind of the beginning of it.
And how many dates have you now facilitated?
I don't even know how many dates it's hard to track that.
Is it really?
Yes, it's very hard to
You
track
have to talk
dates.
about your core metrics.
Yeah, our OMMs. But we get success stories every day. Like
Wait,
now.
your OMs?
Our, huh?
Our
OMs. Oh, I've never thought about that. That's great. Only metric that matters.
Right.
And it's now a pun, apparently. So yeah, we hear about success stories every day, which is so cool. I mean, now there's Meet Mindful babies and marriages, and we need onesies. I mean, it's very rewarding.
So you've raised $3 million now.
3.7.
Right. Almost 4 from
Angels.
So any institutional funds or all angels?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. No.
So that's a pretty sizable raise, pure angel money. And maybe talk a little bit about how you're finding fit and what your approach to finding close to $4 million in angel capital has been.
Yeah. So I have learned to walk my talk. Actually, I really couldn't do anything other than that. That would be really hard for me. And so I only connect with people who I think there's going to be a like-minded connection with. I mean, it feels cliche to say that, but it's true. So our investors are, by and large, all impact investors and investors that invest in the conscious and wellness space. People who are, yes, they want to return, but they're doing it first and foremost for the impact that we're providing in the world. And I think I want to draw a tree one day of where all my investors came from. And I kind of started with one woman who I brought on as the second advisor to the company. I cold emailed her. Her name's Ari Ford, and she's a soulmate. She has a thing called the soulmate secret. She teaches it's like a find your soulmate thing. And she's not an investor. She's just a marketer.
Does she live in San Francisco?
She lives in La Jolla.
Okay.
And her sister is a late Debbie Ford, who did a lot of work as well in the personal growth space. And this woman's kind of like the queen bee of the personal growth world, if you will. And or one of them, her and Deepak are super close, and she knows everyone. And I saw what she was doing, and I was like, oh my God, you're so amazing. I cold emailed her, asked her if she would be interested in chatting, and we did that let's check in every month and hear what's new for about 6 months. She said yes. One day, I remember dancing in a phone booth at Galvanize. Holy shit, I don't even know what this means, but this is so cool. And she introduced me to someone who became my largest investor at the time, and him and his wife were speaking at Success Summit 3.0 in Boulder a few years ago. I randomly went out to dinner with them and a group of people. That's how that relationship started. He introduced me to 4 more people that invested, and then those people. So it's really become a web of people who are all connected one way or another with REL and these original investors. There's very few people that I've gone out. I mean, the largest group I told you about that Scott Beck's part of, I met the operating partner Charlie through Tammy Simon, the founder of Sounds True, and I met her through Eben, the investor I just mentioned. So
it's like a spider web of connections for you.
Yeah.
And when you're interacting with one of these folks, so you have a little bit of an unfair advantage in that you started with someone that was in the personal growth, mindful, sustainability world.
Yeah.
So naturally their network of other angels and high net worth individuals are probably going to be of the same ilk.
Yes.
And so you've sort of worked your way through that network and managed to find connection and resonance with those people and collect dollars along the way.
Yeah.
I think if you're starting a tech company or a consumer products company or a food company, there's a similar methodology, but I feel like the paths to leapfrog from one to the next are actually harder.
It's very interesting. I think that in the beginning, I was very frustrated by being in this kind of like niche, female founder in the mindfulness space that people don't think exists. A lot of people are like, what?
What's your TAM?
What's your TAM? And there was that. And then dating. Like so many people don't even want to touch it. And so it would be so hard to even get an agreement for an introduction. I mean, you remember I would email you during Techstars and you'd be like, they passed. That sucked. But the other side of the coin here is that web, that community. And it's paying off now, which is great.
So do you have any advice on how to find fit when you're looking for investors?
Well, I would say don't compromise your values and your vision. There's a lot of people that I've spoken to that even just one question or one kind of creepy thing that made me realize like, I don't think they're in this for the right reasons, and I don't want to continue talking to them, even if they're going to hand me a $2 million check. Because you're getting married for pretty much. Like that is a very, if you don't feel fully like a full body yes to getting on board with somebody and you guys like could hang out and go skiing together and like go hiking and go hang out do whatever. I mean, if these people are going to be very involved in your life. And so don't compromise there at all. How to find the right people? I mean, I honestly haven't had a lot of luck with cold random reach outs. Like I don't think anybody, and I'd have to do the Rolodex in my head, but I don't think anybody that's invested is a random person I reached out to, which is unfortunate given most people that's what they're going to do.
Right.
But I would say like the how do you have a friendly meeting? Ari's right. Like no one's, very rarely have people spent a lot of time or like met me in person right away. I had a guy that Charlie introduced me to. I don't know. Do you know Techstars Ventures?
No.
It's small but yet they're very aligned. And I had a call with them. They said they were interested in this round. And I just raised a bridge, like $1 million bridge in 45 days, and it was like a lot of people wanted to get in, and I had to say no, which is a really cool place to be. But that's definitely not how it always was. But he said. He said, we're interested, and then later he was like, we're not, it's just not the right time. And I was like, okay, cool. Do you want to be on our update list? Let me know. I don't want to add you unless you want to know, unless you want to be on it. He's like, yeah, sure. And then I just so happened to be going to San Francisco on Monday next week. And so I was like, hey, I didn't say, hey, it'd be great to meet in person. I'm finally going to be here. Let's meet. I said, I know you said it wasn't the right time, and so this may be way too early because we're not raising our A yet, but I am going to be in town. Like, do you want to meet? And he wrote back right away. And, he's like, I'm happy to meet you wherever you're going. So, like, it's really just as friendly as the social skills as you would use with getting to know a new friend, I think. At least that's how I approach it.
Yeah. But part of what you're pulling out a little bit is probably like a completely separate talk about fundraising, but the strategy that works is lines, not dots. And part of what you're doing is creating a line. The first dot was, here's my deck. And he said, hey, probably not right now, but interesting, like love to chat with you later. And you followed up with him. And you're like, hey, you're actually going to be in town and you're not pitching me, you're just saying hi. So then he gets to interact with you again, and you probably update him that you're raising money with or without him, which shows that you can execute. Update him on the traction and the growth of the business, shows that you can execute, and then walk away. And he's going, And the next time you drop a pin on the map, the line starts to go like this for them, and the light bulb goes on and goes, maybe I want to be in this round. And you didn't do any selling.
Yeah. That it was I had a similar experience with this bridge, because everyone that invested was an existing investor except for one new guy who came in.
Yeah.
And I had all these introductions from Charlie, who's our largest partner, and every one of those calls, I was like, yeah, it's an internal bridge round. I don't think we're going to invite anybody new in, but I'll let you know if we are, i.e. I don't need your money. And every one of those wrote back in the follow-up email,
I want to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So scarcity, right?
Which you can't necessarily do in early stage. I mean, I would take a $10,000 check when I was raising my angel and seed rounds.
You can.
How would you do that if you were, really need it?
Separate meeting.
Yeah.
Like, we literally don't have time. There's a lot of techniques to drive scarcity and accelerate round dynamics, and so many investors sit on the edge of the pool waiting for somebody else to jump in first, and your job is to figure out how to just push a couple people in while they're not looking, Jedi mind trick them, and then everyone else is like, oh look, the party's in the pool, we're getting in, and next thing you know, you're oversubscribed.
So actually, our seed round that I worked really hard to get the first 800K, Charlie, who is I keep mentioning, had been tracking us for about a year and a half. And he always said we were too early. And I said, okay, cool. So he called me and he's like, this is January of this year. He goes, we're having our annual partners meeting. It's going to be in Santa Cruz. And the partners, I think it'd be great for you to meet them. Just just say hi. And I said, cool, Charlie. Well, we're basically done with our round. And I have, this AngelList syndicate that's about to go out and close the rest of it. And so cool, I don't feel any pressure, let's do it. And he was like, cool. And I go out and there are all these millionaires sitting with their shoes off in a cabin. And I was like, this is great, this is totally my style. Had no presentation, just talked for 30 minutes and we jammed for another 30 or so. Right. And I get in my car to drive up to Palo Alto and I get a phone call and he's like, everyone wants in, how much room is there? And I was like, not a lot, but let's do it.
Right.
And so there are certain people who are
metrics.
just waiting. Yeah, well, there were metrics. I had metrics.
But you didn't sit there and give them a presentation
no.
right? You had a conversation with them.
Yeah.
They got to know you.
Yeah.
You shared your story, your passion for what you were doing.
One of the things that helps us, I think, that has helped us a lot is our monthly update emails, which a lot of people at Techstars apparently talk about.
Yeah.
We send these crazy, long, detailed monthly update emails. And we learned it, right, when we were interviewing to get into Techstars. And Natty was like, be good if you could send these once a week. And then in Techstars, we're sending them out once a week to people that have invested, to mentors, to people who are interested in investing. After we finish the program, it's once a month. It still is once a month until there's like a really crazy month, and then I skip it. And that lets everybody know what's going on. It lets them know how much execution that we get done, how crazy obsessed we are with A/B tests and metrics, and everyone gets to know us and how we work. And so once we are asking for something or we do need help or we are raising capital, like there's trust built there. And I'm happy to share that format with anybody if they're interested.
How early is it early to start that in your fundraising?
How early?
Start the monthly emails or weekly or updates.
You have to start them before you're fundraising.
Yeah.
So that by the time you're actually fundraising, they've already seen a dozen updates and they know what the business is all about, assuming they're reading them.
Yeah. And also you can track over time what's happening, what the company says they're going to do, and then what they do. And yeah, there's a lot of features that we say we're gonna like release and validate in this 1 month, and we're a month late. But I mean, we're also doing like 20 other things. So it's not like we're promising things and not delivering. But for the person, I see early entrepreneurs who are like, we're launching next week. And then 3 months later, we're launching next week.
Right.
And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, be careful with that.
There's companies I get weekly or monthly emails from. I know they've got single-digit growth, that they're grinding away, trying to make the business work, that we're watching. And I'll know very quickly if they have a breakout 2 or 3 months and the trajectory changes. And I also know that if I thought the business was interesting, but it wasn't clear that it was working, that everyone else is going to know that it's working too, and I better get my act together quickly if I want to do something.
Creates the social pressure.
Or just the competitive pressure, right? Like this is the insidious irony of venture. When you need money desperately, nobody will give you a fucking dime. And when you don't need money, everybody wants to write you a check under any terms you'll take. It's so insidious. And it's this thing about momentum. And the momentum signals de-risk and opportunity. And when you are out of cash and you're going to shutter your business, what does that say? You can't execute. Nobody wants to give you money. It's super high risk. The deal terms are terrible. As soon as it's oversubscribed, everybody else already voted and did the work, so you might as well pile on. I hate it, but it's reality.
One of the other things I'm noticing with these updates is that it helps when things aren't going well, because 2 months ago I said that our cost for acquisition has started going up, and we've been doing some, basically our Facebook cost went up. And we have been doing a lot to mitigate that and to diversify away from Facebook. And we're kind of like going back to the drawing board on some things. And we have, if you look at our acquisition mix, like we have platform risk. Like we rely on Facebook for a lot of our new member acquisition. And so I can't, in good faith, raise a $5 million A round without saying, we've tested these 8 new channels. These are the 3 that we know the unit economics on, and we haven't dumped a whole bunch of money into that yet. That's why we're raising the capital. But at least I have answers on what we're doing to get past this first kind of big hurdle we've hit. Because we were growing like gangbusters for a while. And now when I send out my next update in next week and I say, we flatlined our marketing spend because we saw the efficiencies went down, no one's going to be surprised that our growth over the past couple months slowed down. And I'm okay with that. And, it would be foolish of me as a founder to just start spending money when it wasn't efficient.
Or just not mentioning it.
Not mentioning it.
Props for being transparent. That's the other big thing.
It's scary, man.
Yeah.
It's scary to be like, things aren't the same, aren't working as well as they were before. But, this is our first big challenge.
The thing that I think entrepreneurs sometimes get wrong is once the investor is in and they've written a check, they're on your side of the table until you've really screwed things up and they're not. But assume that they are. Like they want to win just as badly as you. So if you don't share the bad news or don't say, I don't know how to do this, like they already put their faith in you. So the best thing you can do is say, help, and get some help and figure it out. The worst thing you can do is pretend it's not happening because you don't want to upset them. Because investors aren't dumb. Like you're not going to get another check from them if you're not transparent. So it's super valuable. So it's almost 7. I want to be respectful of everyone else's time. Open it up to Q&A. Anyone have questions for us?
What's the percentage of teams that go dark? They don't do monthly updates? What's an average?
I don't know.
For inconsistent updates.
I would say any company I'm like directly involved in can't go completely dark on me because I will find them. I've had companies that are inconsistent with their updates or spend 14 hours making this amazing detailed update when all I want is the TLDR. Did we grow? Did we not grow? Are you guys okay, not okay? And how much runway do we have left? And instead I get like 14 pages of diatribe. But I don't know what the percentage is. I think that, and it's hard for us to know at Techstars because when you're going through the accelerator, it's weekly updates, and that's part of the process of getting good at communicating with investors. It's one of the things we teach. And then you get out of Techstars and you get external investors, and they might say, stop sharing so much information with so many people. We don't want all your secrets getting out there. You got to cut the distribution list. We have to keep things closer to the vest.
I've wondered about that. cut some people out.
We love to continue to get the information because we can't be helpful if we don't have it.
Yeah.
And as I read these updates, I'm like, oh, Amy should talk to so-and-so, and this could be a good fit for here. And we're super connectors. And so, if I don't have the data, I can't connect. So.
Do you save the backlog of all your updates?
Oh, I have a Google Drive folder.
Do you share that with your investors?
I just send it to them I use a Gmail plugin called Streak that does individual emails, like mail merge. So I just put it in an email and send it.
That would be like level 10 angel investor. Can you please send me the last 2 years of your weekly updates?
Be like, why don't you search in your email and find
No,
it?
if they weren't an investor, if they just came in.
Oh, that would be wild.
Right?
Okay.
Free diligence.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So when you're making relationships with the VCs who are funding you and making friends with them, was it hard saying no to them? How did it affect the relationships when you said
Hard
no?
saying no to them?
Yeah.
To the investor?
Some people would want to give money, but they would want more percentage of your company, right?
Oh.
I haven't actually run into that, like, evaluation issue like that. I don't feel like saying no has been hard. There was one person that I recently said that I really, like, Sue was about to come in at the very tail end, and it was just too late, and I couldn't change the term sheet and extend. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. I love you, and I want you involved, and it's just not the right time.
You can buy
it comes from the heart to be able to say, like, I really, for whatever reason, it's not going to work, but let's look at the next round.
Yeah, you can spend twice as much money for a quarter of the shares.
The thing is, like, if I'm truly saying no for the right reason, it's not going to be hard. And I would say that for any part in my life, anywhere in my life. If it's not a full body yes, and it's a no, and I'm okay with that.
I would say probably one of the most powerful mental places you could get yourself to as an entrepreneur when interacting with investors is owning the fact that it is dating. It's a two-way street. You need to like them and stop thinking that I need their money, I'll do whatever they say. Like, if you don't get a good vibe from them and you don't like them, or they say, hey, I really like you, and they like act one way, but then they give you this term sheet that says, something very different, like, you just learned a lot. VCs that behave a certain way face to face, glad hand you, smile, nod, make you feel awesome, and then give you deal terms that are ridiculously aggressive, like, that kind of sets a precedent for how the relationship could go, right? And everything is data around those interactions. If they blow you off for a meeting twice and then finally meet you and they're super nice in the meeting, you have to park that. And if the next time you interact with them, they blow you off again, like, are they going to be available to you as a board member?
Yeah.
Right? If someone makes you uncomfortable, if they say inappropriate things, if they ask you too many personal questions, if they seem judgy, like, even if they have a checkbook, like, if that doesn't resonate with you, do you want to spend 3 hours with them in a boardroom, let alone 10 years with them? Or are you going to be willing to go to them when times are tough and really trust them if you already feel judged before you even know them? So.
And quick question on the 3.7. That's great. A lot of early stage investors in there. In terms, I'm assuming you did all of it with convertible debt instruments.
No. So we've done 2 priced rounds. I also have never had a term sheet given to me. We've always made up our terms and had them agreed to. So angel round was priced, and then we did a little, like, the Techstars note and 2 other notes, and that converted in our seed, which was priced. And then this bridge is convertible. That the one that just closed last week is convertible debt that will be converting in a priced round.
So you're following my debt sandwich advice to a T.
Guess so.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind things being priced, and it's easier.
No, it's good. I mean, if you went into your Series A with $3.7 million of debt at a 20% discount, like, honestly, you're kind
with caps.
Yeah, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Right? So
It's like 80% of the company is gone.
Right. So somebody would need to give you a $15 to $20 million pre. If you raised 5, the 3.7 would convert it at about 6. So you'd effectively sell like $12 million worth of the company, but only receive the cash for the new money. So you'd probably in the end sell 60% of the company by the time you converted those notes and did the Series A, unless your growth was so astronomical that you raised like 10 on 50 and you were only going into the deal selling 12% or 15%. It would, and then what would happen is the investors would use that as a reason to say no, because they didn't want to be the bad person and dilute you and do the aggressive deal and deal with the debt and all of that. And so I wrote a blog post a while ago about eating a debt sandwich, which is basically stacking priced rounds, debt, and priced rounds so that you have a buffer and you don't end up with debt on top of debt where it becomes like pressure on the company. So good question. All right, one more, and then we'll cut everyone loose.
I'm actually quite curious, Amy, this is for you.
Yes.
It seems like, now, this is just going off of my interpretation of Western and Eastern cultures meeting, but do you think you'd be successful in Asia? Yeah?
Yeah. We're not there yet.
She'll let you know in 2022 when they're the fastest growing dating service in Asia.
In India. You know what's crazy is that, like, I mean, we look at these practices and traditions as current things that are going on in Asia, and it's not really what's like. They're like trying to get onto the capitalistic, first world pop culture thing, and so a lot of that's been lost, and it's not easy to find in your everyday experience and wherever you are, India, Thailand, China, whatever. So yeah, I think it's there. We'll see. Might have somebody who would be able to help with that in China and other places.
All right. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.